Sup bros, today we're going to review the Rundeer Attack 11. MSRP is $2,299 for the single motor variation. They also have a dual motor variation of this bike. A couple things that stand out about it is it has D&M inverted front suspension with 160 millimeters of travel, dual shocks on the rear, and 4-piston hydraulic brakes. So should you buy this bike? I don't know. Let's check it out. Here's what it looks like when you get out of the box. So one of the first things that probably catches your attention on this bike is these wheel covers. Looks like they are some sort of yellow plastic and they are removable. Also, it's good to see we do have a through axle on this. Tires are obviously 20x4s. They are Chow Yang. Got the knobby tread, of course, because this is an off-road bike. So it also helps that they are spoke wheels, good for off-road. Brake rotors are Tektro brand with a diameter of 160 millimeters. And the next thing that really sets itself apart on this bike is the D&M Volcano inverted front suspension with 160 millimeters of travel. That is like twice as much as a normal e-bike. On the right stanchion, we can adjust the firmness of the rebound. And on the left stanchion, we get a preload adjustment. Obviously, it's a dual crown fork. And it is an air shock, so there's one more adjustment I'll show you later down there. And I gotta say, this frame is pretty interesting looking. The battery is completely housed in here. We'll pop it out the bottom in just a bit. It's got this aluminum here, and up on the frame it does have a UL certification sticker. It says TUV UL 2849, listed as a 48 volt 20 amp hour battery. You can pause and read it if you want. Seat is fairly long, also fairly wide. It's got some like grooves and shape to it. Bit of Rundeer branding on the back. Also has a rear rack that's already installed with a light on it. And on the rear of the motor, we can see it does have a Bafang 750 watt nominal motor, which can run 1200 watts peak. We have 7 gears on a Shimano cassette, and it's running a Shimano Tourney TZ derailleur. On the rear for suspension, it has these dual coil shocks. They are adjustable. You can turn this. Seems to be like fairly soft shocks. Doesn't actually have a number for the spring rate on them. Chainring on front has a double wall guard to prevent you from damaging the teeth of the front gear in case you bottom out when you're off-roading. So up on the handlebars, we have Tektro Ariga E-Comp brakes. I have not seen these before, so I'm excited to try them. Definitely seem to be a little better than the typical stuff. The grips are round and rubber. Get a bell and a 7-speed shifter. Here's your controls, and you get a thumb throttle. Won't be long till we power this up. So flipping that bike over help us with a couple things. First, I want to show you this adjustment. So as mentioned, this is an air shock, so you can pop that off, and using a shock pump, you can adjust how much air you have in your air shock, which will change how firm or soft you ride. And while we're here, the Tektro calipers are here. These look like dual piston calipers. So maybe you get 2 on front, 2 in back, 4 pistons total. And then of course we have a through axle on the front. This is like the best kind for an e-bike. So I got the through axle and then the 2 pinch bolts on each. Gives you a really solid connection. And then lastly, we can see the battery down here. There's actually a switch to turn it on and off. And then using the key, should be able to get this thing out of here. I remember on the Attack 10, I had a pretty darn difficult time getting it out. So it says the left is open. Should be open. Comes right out. Heck yeah, man. Battery says Rundeer Bicycle. It is listed as a 48 volt battery pack. Rated capacity 19.6 amp hours, basically 20 amp hours. And the rated energy is 940 watt hours. Max discharge current would be 30 amps. Claimed weight is 5.2 kg. Measured weight is 11.6 pounds.
11.6 pounds is about 5.26 kilograms.
Okay. Let's put that back in its home. Why do I feel like I just loaded up a pew pew? And on the back wheel, we have a Tektro caliper, also a 160 with the same dual piston Tektro brake caliper. They give you a 3 amp charger on a 20 amp hour battery. That puts your charge time at about just over 6 hours. And the pedals are a set of Welgo plastic pedals. Got the front fender on, and check out that headlight, man. I don't think I've ever seen a light like this on a bike before. So we're gonna fire this thing up in just a minute. But first, let's feel it out. I am 6'5", still inseam 34, so up aboard, I have plenty of standover height on this bike. And let's see how the rear end feels. Fine. Well, I definitely need to put some air in that tire, so some of that suspension is due to about 4 psi in the tires. But I can see that the rear shocks are flexing. I can tell that the seat is wide. So on a bike like this, with all your weight sitting over the back, rear suspension is pretty important. And then one of the standout features of this bike is the D&M air shock up front. So how does that feel? Yeah, big time travel compared to a lot of the bikes that are seen on this channel. 160 millimeters of travel on a fairly decent quality shock. We don't really see shocks like this on too many bikes. So we can adjust like how firm and soft it is with the air pressure, that little knob on the bottom I showed you. But it actually feels pretty good stock. Oh yeah, so we have pedals on this. The crank arms are pretty darn long. So, you know, it makes my knees come up pretty high as a tall rider. Wonder how much this thing weighs. So what I like to do is stand on the scale, weigh myself. My weight is 192.4. And since the battery is a pain in the butt to remove on this one, we're just gonna leave it in there and pick it up. So standing on the scale, picking up the entire bike and my body on the scale, 287 we'll call it. So 94.6 pounds for the bike, including the battery. So I think it's about time we turn it on. Oh, you might need to have the key turned down there or something. I think I have the battery on. So there is a switch down there. So it might have been off. Let's try it now. Yeah, you might need to have the key in there. Let's try it. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. No, no, no. Don't put the key in there. Ugh. Is that on? Yeah, it's on. So probably what we need to do is get on the charger for a second. Sometimes you just gotta plug it in for a quick second to wake it up. Let's see, did that do the trick? Boom, Rundeer. So the display is actually pretty good. It is color, looks very good font, good, yeah, showing our calories, real important up here at the top. Speed, odometer, watt output, love to see that. And pedal assist, you can put to 0 and dial it up to 5 with corresponding colors. Tap the M button. So you get trip time, odometer, so basic stuff. Holding the plus and minus should get us into the advanced settings. Yeah, user settings. So kind of fancy transition there. So you could do backlight contrast, unit setting, automatic shutdown, wheel size setting, speed limit setting. What is the speed limit set? Oh, you need a password. So maybe check the manual, which it did come with the manual. Let's just try zeros. Sometimes it's ones. And I kind of just want to spin these wheels up, see kind of like what they look like and sound like. Oh, this is by full throttle. And it just like stopped working. Like the screen just turned off. Look at this light on the front. Let's check it out. Boom. So the light is actually pretty bright. I think I have it pointed a bit too high. Also, I am noticing it's like really close to the fender, so tilting it down might, I can't even do it. I tighten it up too much. Tilting it down shines some of the light at the fender, but some of that light gets out there, right? And of course, you got your light on the back. Grabbing a brake lever, lights it up a bit brighter. So, I think you know what time it is. All right, dudes, let's check out the Rundeer Attack 11 and see how this thing attacks the tail heavy circuit. And of course, we're gonna check our official range on that battery mounted inside the frame. So, hopping aboard, we are on a full charge. Let's roll. So inside the elevator here, let's take a look at that light. It is actually pretty darn bright. It does kind of get blocked a little bit by that, and then you get your light on the rear with the brake light. So with the stock settings, we're gonna run it up to 20% grade, see how it does. On pedal assist 5, I'll turn the light off to save as much amperage as we have here. We get a watt meter. I weigh 200 pounds, ready to go. So from a dig, it's showing 1,300 watts, pulling us straight on up to 20% grade. And first thing I'm noticing about this bike is just how wide that seat is on the back. I mean, where I'm sitting, bro. It's actually pretty comfortable to sit on, and I like the feeling of this dual crown fork. It's got like a pretty good rake to it, which makes for more stability. Also noticing this isn't really the kind of bike I'm gonna wanna pedal. It's got really long crank arms, so my knees come up real high. And in general, the seat's just kind of low. But let's go ahead and try out some of the power modes. So pedal assist 0, gives you no power. And you can pedal it, I guess. We're in gear 1, going 2 miles an hour. Let's throw it on pedal assist 1. See what that does. So I'll shift it to gear number 4. Appears to be a cadence sensor, so I don't have to actually apply any tension to the chain. It'll just kind of hold about 10 miles an hour, giving us 230 watts. This display is actually super easy to see out here, even with the polarized shades on, which is not true for all e-bikes I review. And pedal assist 2 bumps us up just a bit more there. I'm already on top gear of 7, and natural cadence here is about 15 miles an hour. Let's try pedal assist 3. I'm gonna try just throttle now. So pedal assist 3, throttle will take us up to 20. What if we slow down? Pedal assist 2 on throttle takes us to 15. And they say 4-piston hydraulic brakes. Looking at these, I believe we have 2 pistons on front and 2 pistons on the rear, making for 4 total pistons on these Tektro brakes. Generally, when you market 4-piston brakes, that means you got 4 pistons on each caliper for a total of 8 pistons on a bicycle. So going around turns, this thing actually feels real nice with this through axle on front and this much more premium D&M shock than we typically see on a lot of moped style e-bikes I review. And PAS4 brings us up to 23, showing 570 watts to hold this speed. And with those, whoa, wheel covers, a little bit of power there, that was more than expected. With those wheel covers on the side, it'll be real interesting to see. I don't know, is that gonna affect performance? Does that give you more like aerodynamics? Does that reduce your drag? Is it just for show? Are we gonna lose our hubcaps? I don't know. Are they just like, are they hubcaps like we see on this car right here? Those are hubcaps. These are kind of hubcaps. And one issue I encounter on some of these bikes that have a dual crown fork is it won't turn as far as I'd like it to. This one seems to turn quite a bit more than some of them I've tried. Sometimes the stanchions up here kind of get in the way. Looking at this whole front end, it kind of just has like a Sur-Ron feel to it with these round grips and the stanchions and this thing up here with the light. But once you press on that thumb throttle, you realize you're definitely not on a Sur-Ron. And I like that we have the easy adjustments on the D&M shock. I'm gonna dial all the way down to the softest rebound. Got a little scooter there. And I didn't even mess with the air, but that would be like your best adjustment, is changing the air and the air shock. But it's pretty soft, like this feels great out of the box. So let's do just a bit of off-roading here, since this is a mountain bike, right? So yeah, front shock is good. And on the rear, the coil shocks are pretty basic, but the seat is like real wide, man. So this thing is just like sitting on a big old bench. It's comfortable to my butt. I can feel, you know, a lot of the bumps coming up through the rear. I have the tires on the recommended PSI of 20 PSI. Could be a softer ride running them lower, but that'll reduce your range some, right? So past this 5, let's get out here on the street before we get to the beach. Do you think this thing can ride on the sand? Oh, that was real harsh bump, man, on the back. Front suspension is awesome. Rear suspension looks like it came from Temu. So it looks like it's cutting us off at, I just felt the motor cut out exactly at 23 miles an hour, 24 miles an hour going into headwind. Civic is bumping, bro. And we're about to do a 0 to 20 run here, and unfortunately, looks like somebody did not lock up their bike properly using just this. Yikes. So with the 200-pound rider, let's see how quickly this thing accelerates. GPS usually lags. We'll do full throttle past this 5. Ready, go! So kicks on power. 1300 watts peak is showing, and 20. So pretty much what you would expect from 1300 watts peak on a bike of this weight. It's really all you need. Mostly, kind of what's sticking out to me is like kind of like how this bike just feels, like the handling of it. Like it feels like nimble and zippy. And I think a lot of that just has to do with the whole front end of this bike, that shock on the front and the through axle, and probably like the placement of the battery too, like the weight distribution. Feels good to ride, man, except that rear suspension, just a bit tight. Maybe we should get back there and adjust that, because it does have these adjustments, which I generally don't really mess with, but I don't know, let's give them a try. Might be making the bike a little unlevel there. I need to do the other one, but we got to get through this intersection. Let's see how that feels. I don't think it changed anything, dude. We'll loosen up the other one too. Let's see if this makes a difference. That is as soft as it can get. Pretty sure that's getting full extension. So how is this bike for off-roading? I mean, technically, I guess you could stand on the pedals and use your legs as suspension, and then utilize that front shock with your arms, putting the power through that front shock. In that case, you know, kind of makes sense being a mountain bike. Yeah, my legs are definitely no suspension on the rear. Oh my God, though. If you're sitting on the seat though, oh, you better start budgeting for a new spine, bro. But once you're riding on like a perfectly smooth surface, it feels great. So let's see if we can unlock a higher top speed on this thing. Hold plus and minus, but you need a password and they don't give you the password. It would be possible to change the speed limit setting to go a little bit faster if you need a password, but I mean, realistically speaking, this is a 48 volt system. I mean, you might be able to get it up to like 28, maybe 30, but that would be about it. So top speed, let's see, throttle only, we're at, yeah, it just cuts right at 25, and that's that. Actually, I guess we could try turning the pedals and see what happens. So I can't keep up. Yeah, just same thing, 24, 25. Brakes actually feel pretty darn good. So, you know, it looks like they're really trying to market this thing as like a off-roading mountain bike, but I don't really feel like that's where it excels, man. Just like street riding, because like it's good at street riding. The seat's like wide, it's comfortable to sit on, just cruise like this, and the handling feels good on it, and you have good front suspension. But bro, dude, I would not want to be riding this thing off-road, honestly. And the brakes, man, I've never tried these calipers before, but as mentioned, man, they actually feel really good. So let's go try it on the sand and maybe a bit of off-roading here by the beach. So let's see how this thing will do for just a bit of off-roading and hill climbing here a bit. Oh yeah. So putting down about 1200 watts there, and it's always good to have your legs help with the suspension a little bit on this bike. The sand is challenging. Let's give it a little rip up this hill. Oh, yeah, suspension's a bit tight on the rear, but you can use your legs for suspension. Let's see if we can pop up this little hill here. Full throttle. All right, nice. That front fork worked pretty nicely there. And I'm gonna be standing, as you should, I guess, on a mountain bike, right? Yeah, this thing's actually pretty fun, man. I like that it doesn't feel like too heavy, because battery is 48 volt, 20 amp hour. So let's see where we end up on range. Oh, got a little bit of wet grass here. What? It hasn't rained here in months. Oh, God. So of course we got the knobby 4-inch tires. We should have no problem blasting through this sand, and front fork will eat that bump right up. Now going over this stuff, I'd recommend you stand. Use your legs as suspension. Yeah, pop the battery out. Oh. Hopefully I didn't break this thing permanently. So battery is a bit loose here. Got to make sure it's like locked in there real good. I think that did it. Just turn it back on for now. Better take it easy. So can it ride in the sand? Let's give it a go. Full throttle. And I can feel it's wanting some help. So I'm just kind of pedaling it here a bit. And it's really hard for me to pedal it, but we can. It'll give us like 900 watts. Tire pressure is 20 PSI, so we're just kind of scooting along here. It is giving us like 1,000 watts of power, and the soft sand is challenging. So once we get on the hard pack sand though, no problem. You know, this is kind of more equivalent to like, you know, riding on the dirt essentially, which this bike has no problem riding on this, doing 1,200 watts, just cruising along here. Pretty good rate of speed. Oh gosh, watch out for the wind. And we're gonna cut back here and see if we can make it up this hill and through the soft sand going back. Yeah. It'd probably be better if I dropped the tire PSI a bit. This one is just not crushing it for soft sand. If we get on the downhill a bit, it'll kind of get us going, but we'll get off and use the throttle. It is nice that it has a Bafang name brand motor on there. Bafang makes pretty quality stuff for the price. One of the better geared hub motors you can get for the money. So next up, California incline. Holy crap, dude, this kid just wiped out hard, man. He like ran over these pillars. Kids bounce. So as you know, the California incline is at 12% grade, 85 foot of elevation gain. Heading on into the spiral section. We'll give it full throttle now. I like how this bike handles, man. I know I said it a few times, but that front fork, like the angle of it, like, oh yeah, man. Low center of mass. That just felt great, man. Pulling 12 miles an hour. A little squeak on that back brake. So let's see how it'll do. Climbing the California incline here, full throttle. I'm not going to pedal at all, and let's see what it can do. On its own, pulling about 1,200 watts currently, and hitting 19 miles an hour. Still pulling 1,200 watts. We're going to probably have to let off because there's a stroller, but we're getting up to about 22, which is top speed. We'll slow it down just a bit here and skate on through, pick back up. This makes it even more challenging on the motor because we like killed our momentum and like we gotta pick the momentum back up. But plenty of torque, you know, climbing this hill. And the brakes. Back one is a little squeaky. So we have the Tektro Ariga e-comps, and these levers actually feel fantastic. Now the rotors are 160 millimeters, so it's got shorter rotors compared to, I don't know, like 180s, but the tires are shorter too. So really, you know, for a short wheel, a smaller rotor is more acceptable. So let's just give them a pull right here. They feel pretty good, man. Now they would be a little more powerful if they were like 180 millimeter rotors, but on these shorter 20-inch wheels, you know, these are fine. We do see a lot of companies going with 180s though on 20-inch wheels, and even 203s sometimes. Now they say these are 4-piston brakes, but I believe they are dual pistons on each wheel, which I guess technically would make 4 pistons total. So we'll give it a break from top speed. Coming in real hot here. We are at max speed 24, 25, and yeah. Brakes are pretty good, man. They're pretty good. I'd say, you know, they're like a safe level of good. All right, dudes, we're at 10 miles into this ride. It looks like the battery bar is reading full right now. We're gonna head on home, see what the final range is, and I'll share my final thoughts of the Rundeer Attack 11 along the way. So list price on this bike is $2,299, and the link below this video. If you do want to buy this bike and also help support my reviews, if you use that link, it would help support my channel, and I would appreciate your support. I might have a little coupon code down there to help save you some money too. They also offer this bike in dual motor variation, so if you want more power for like really crushing it on the sand and climbing hills even faster, you can go for the dual motor variation. It does cost a little bit more, and it is gonna change the handling. I think you get a different shock on the front too. So on this bike, what I do like about it is the front shock, this D&M air shock. It feels real nice, man. Like it's like a nice set of suspension. It's got that air adjustability. You can adjust the rebound, the compression, the preload, all the good stuff. And you know, like the angle of it, I don't know, something, the through axle, whatever it is it's got going on up there, it just makes this bike like handle like pretty nimble, man. Like I like the way this bike handles. The seat, I like that the seat is like long and wide. So for riding on like flat pavement, this thing is like pretty comfortable. Now for me, at 6'5", it's definitely like too short for me to pedal. These crank arms are real long. The seat is kind of low, so this bike would probably be best suited for a shorter rider. The top speed of like 25 miles an hour is gonna help you get a little more range out of the battery too than if you're going, you know, 28 or 30. It just takes more and more wattage to hit those higher speeds. And do you really need to go faster than 25 on an e-bike? That's a question for you to answer, my dude. Rear suspension, I do wish the rear suspension was, you know, a little bit higher quality. I suppose you could always like swap those shocks out if you could find something that, you know, aligned with the measurements. But for street riding, it's pretty good. If you are gonna be doing like mountain biking, riding this thing like off on trails and stuff, you're probably gonna wanna get your weight off that rear end, stand on the pedal. That way you can use your legs as suspension for the rear, and then the front, you know, utilize the actual D&M air shock up there. Brake levers feel real nice. So with that said, let's head on home, see where the final range is. And woo, over here where it's a little more windy, I can feel the wind kind of blowing against those hubcaps. It makes it catch crosswinds. All right, bros, just rolling back into the neighborhood. Let's take a look at final range. Now, this has been a pretty comfortable ride. The one complaint I would have personally is my hamstrings just feel a little bit tight, man. My legs are just kind of scrunched on this bike at 6'5", long legs. But the range is the same as always, basically. Coming up on about 17.4 miles. We were doing 12.62 on the average speed and hour 22 minutes ride time. Now, as far as the battery, it shows like this little blue bar with like a tiny fraction of it missing. It does not show us the voltage, but you know, I would say we probably did a little better than usual on lithium ion use per mile covered, because The speed limit cuts us off at 25. So basically by not hitting those like speeds higher than 25, you know, 28 or 30, you're gonna get a little bit better range out of your bike because it just takes so much more power to hit those higher speeds. Now, based on my experience on a 48 volt, 20 amp hour battery pack, I would say this thing's honestly sitting more at the ballpark of about 60 to 70% remaining after today's ride. So if you do want to grab one of these Rundeers, click on that link down below the video, buy through that link. It would help support my reviews and get you the best price. However, if this is not the kind of bike you're looking for, watch this video, bro. Catch you over there.